Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I am your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. This morning, September the 24th, 2015, Pope Francis addressed the United States Congress. And I believe he is the first pope to address Congress. And I really was not surprised at anything he said because, as you know, I believe he is the false prophet of these end times. His speech basically could have been written by Barack Obama's speechwriters. Everything he promoted came right out of the liberal agenda. For example, he supported more immigration. He supported more welfare programs. I thought he would speak out against abortion, but really he fumbled the ball on that one. He did come out and say we should respect all human life. But then he went on a long rant against the death penalty. Well, Pope Francis, did you ever do your research? How many convicted criminals are executed in America every day compared to the 3,000 babies which are aborted? Those aborted babies, they have no trial, no jury, no judge, no stay of execution. They suffer the death penalty and they are innocent. And Pope Francis, you didn't even use the word abortion in your entire speech. Why didn't you address the issue currently in front of Congress, the defunding of Planned Parenthood? They not only slice and dice babies, but they sell the parts of aborted babies. They are a wicked and barbaric organization. Couldn't you say one word against that terrible evil which is afflicting America? But the real verification, to me anyway, that Pope Francis is the false prophet was the 666 hand signal that he gave to Congress. And I am sure there were a lot of Masons in the audience who understood exactly what he was doing. He gave the OK sign. And that is not only sexual, but it is satanic. First of all, you have the feminine form. And you have the three forms which indicate masculinity. It is also 666. 1 6, 2 6, 3 6s. 666. What's really interesting is Pope Francis gave this OK sign 3 times. Once low, then high, and then low again. And on that high one, he used the word God. He spoke about God very briefly in this entire speech, but when he did, he used the OK sign. This is an amazing demonstration of his true allegiance to the satanic god of the end times, and that is the Antichrist. Take a look at this amazing clip.
On the other, the figure of Moses leads us directly to God, and thus to the transcendent dignity of the human being.
Now I'm going to play this clip again in slow motion. Notice he gives the OK sign once low for 1 6, once high for 2 6s when he says the word God, and then low again for the third 6. He lowers his hand for the first 6, then he raises his hand and gives the OK sign for a second 6 when he says the word God, and he lowers it again for the third 6 for 666. This is not accidental, people. Now, not only did Pope Francis give us 666, the number of the Antichrist, but he also promoted the one world scarlet beast system, which is basically communism. He, for example, gave us as role models 2 very questionable American Catholics, Dorothy Day and Thomas Merton. Now, both of these were, for example, very promiscuous when they were young. I believe that Dorothy Day even had a child by a Marxist. Now, I am not unforgiving. We can forgive those things. However, Thomas Merton I believe had a romantic relationship after he became a monk when he was in his 50s with one of his nurses. Now, I get this information from Wikipedia. I'm not sure how accurate it is. Thomas Merton, towards the end of his life, gravitated towards Eastern religions. In fact, he was attending a conference in Thailand. When he died, died a very unusual way. He was electrocuted when the fan in his hotel room fell into his bathtub. And I have no objection to either Dorothy Day or Thomas Merton. I believe they probably went to heaven, and you could even call them saints if you want to. I believe Dorothy Day is up for sainthood. But why not give us as a role model, Pope Francis, Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, for example? Now, there was a wonderful human being, very famous for all Americans. He was very prominent in our media. As far as I can tell, he always led a very holy life. Why did you give us two people who were pacifists, leaning towards Marxism? Are you, in fact, Pope Francis, telling us your philosophy? Now, here's another quote from his speech, which I think is also very telling. He is very much against what he calls polarization. He calls it a temptation to look at things in black and white, to divide the world into the righteous and into sinners. And he expresses this attitude all the time. For example, he says, "Who am I to judge?" when talking about homosexuality. Take a listen to this interesting clip.
Temptation, which we must especially guard against. The simplistic reductionism, which sees only good or evil, or, if you will, the righteous and sinners. The contemporary world, with its open wounds, which affect so many of our brothers and sisters, demands that we confront every form of polarization.
Now, I am still not proclaiming Pope Francis to be the false prophet. He has yet to cause everyone to take the mark of the beast. He has yet to take the daily sacrifice away from the prince. And he has yet to suffer a mortal wound, which is a phony false flag. I believe he will do those things. If not on this trip to the United States, it may occur at next month's synod. And I also want to say something about all of the false prophets on YouTube who take great glee in calling this pope and any pope a false prophet or an antichrist. We must understand that we are in the dark days of the Great Tribulation. We do have a true pope, Pope Benedict. He is an eclipse, as Mary prophesied at La Salette. The church is being trampled under by the Gentiles. We must reject the false prophet, Pope Francis, if he is such, and we must accept the true pope, Pope Benedict. And if you would like to know more about my ministry here on YouTube, visit my thirdeaglemedia.com website.